discussing reopening transatlantic travel. It's high on the agenda for the US-UK and the US-EU. It's a reality in one way for countries like France, Croatia, Spain and Italy, because those countries have already said to Americans, come on over. America has not replied in kind. There's no reciprocity to allow fully vaccinated Europeans to go westbound. And that's something that needs to change. But for Ben Smith, the CEO of Air France-KLM, at the moment, the fact Americans can visit is worth celebrating.
So we have an extensive program that we put in place. So today, if you're American or you live in the United States, you can fly into Paris and then make a connection to another European country or city, and you need a PCR test as well as a vaccination, and you can enter via France. And depending on the specific country, they may or may not need something additional. But here in France, you need a vaccination, PCR test. You can come into France across the Atlantic.
What needs to change to make the whole thing easier? And I'm not talking about, how we can play fast and loose with rules and risks, but in your view, what needs to change?
I think what needs to change, I think we have a very good example that we've seen here. If you get a vaccination, there is an app that's available now in France. You can enter your vaccination confirmation on this app, and you can use it in all different venues. Yesterday, I was at Roland Garros, and the app was accepted. You just flash your app, and you can enter, because they had a condition that you had to be vaccinated. So having something easy to use would be a first step, and then universally accepted, obviously, is the next step. And as you saw in Europe, they are hoping to introduce this early July, and that I think would be a very, very big step. But I used it for the first time yesterday, and I was really impressed how quick it was.
I understand it's almost like changing the aircraft engine while the plane's flying. The complexity of this. But is there room for optimism that you can have a good summer as an airline in 2021?
Oh, I'm much more optimistic today than I would have been, say, 4 to 8 weeks ago. I mean, it is, as you follow this industry closely, it is changing every single day. The fact that Americans can cross the Atlantic and come into France relatively easy is a big, big change for us. And every day it seems to be getting a little easier and a little more clear for customers on where they can go, how they can go, despite the fact that it's ever changing.
Your competitors say the European legacy carriers have been drinking at the fountain of state money like an alcoholic at a pub.
I think we have been hit, long-haul carriers, in a way that could never have been imagined. I think if you are a European only carrier, the effect is it's very different. It's much less. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. And we are the aid that has been given to us. We're very thankful to both the Dutch and the French states, is to ensure that these critical businesses that form part of the transportation infrastructure of both countries stay in place. I mean, we are big contributors to the economies here. This is not a question of looking for an aid for us to do business. We're not looking to change the level playing field here. This is to survive with an impact, due to an impact that had nothing to do with mismanagement, nothing to do with a bad strategy. It's something that all of our long-haul competitors have had to face.
That's Ben Smith of Air France-KLM. Later in the programme, Michael O'Leary responds to that, calling the legacy carriers state aid junkies of European aviation.